Hey, hey, baseball world. We are finally back with our first post-World Series edition of the Beat Ball Blues Show. And right out of the gates, I demand an apology to my audience from you, sir.
Oh,
You apologize to my audience.
because I have a job and I had to put
That's all
my
right.
grades in,
That's all
and
right.
I am
You
a
knew
head.
that?
I am hold on, and I'm a head coach of a 13U football team and the vice president of the organization. And we had equipment issues to deal with yesterday before practice. I apologize for my busy schedule and getting stuff done. I consider that being extremely useful. My students were extremely happy that they got their grades in. My players were extremely happy that they got all their equipment. I is sorry that the beat ball world had to wait an extra 12 hours.
Man, you write a
My,
nice country song, son.
Okay,
You write a nice country
hey,
song.
my apologies, my
What?
apologies,
Once I'm
my
giving.
apologies. And if it's not good
Yeah.
enough, y'all can, or you can kiss my ass.
Yeah, I wrote explicit ahead of time.
I give a damn. You can come out and run sprints for like my football team. That's what I think. So
Once you've given me clearance to go promote a time,
yes, and I told you, I
negotiation is
said
over.
I told you what I was
No,
doing. I told you,
no.
hey man, I got grades that I gotta put in, right? It's not like,
If
hey
you couldn't
man,
fit in the show, you should have
hey,
said, "Man, we have to do it a different time."
the show can get pushed back, man. Grade deadlines
No,
can't.
no. The co-host could get
There
pushed
it
out.
is. Right, remember
Co-host could get pushed out.
these people, might have, blown smoke up Devil Dog's butt all week, and now Devil Dog thinks he's the greatest man, greatest thing since sliced bread. Right now, he is the absolute man, but that's not
You know
how
what?
it
Now that
works.
you've admitted that, everything's
That
okay.
yes, that's not
Everything's
how the
okay.
world works, man.
Everything's okay.
But once you start paying me, then you go up above my job. Okay, you go up above my job, man. My teaching things, right? Well, yeah. So I'll wait for that paycheck, and I'll give you my
Man,
direct deposit information.
I can't lie. I was heated, but I was even more heated when 3 hours later, people are sending me texts and private messages and Messenger like,
Oh,
I can't find the link. Where is it? Like, man,
yeah. So you tell the people, hold their
man,
asses on.
man.
Hold on.
You know what's
I,
irritating? Really?
I was quite as I'm struggling to get my my grades in, as I'm dealing with all these issues for the football team. I was quite incensed to see myself listed as basically useless on the
Somewhat.
your
Somewhat.
on your thing, as clearly
I had to
I
change it
was
to somewhat. I
I
had
was
completely
I,
in
I,
there, and I was
I
like,
was
that's too strong.
yes, and I was definitely being extremely useful yesterday as I was trying
Not to me
to
though. Like
juggle things.
you're missing the point. None of that stuff's
Yes,
about me. I
yes,
don't care about your
yes,
students.
yes,
I somewhat
yes,
care about the football kids.
yes. You care about my job and my employment.
Man, as you just mentioned, like how full of myself I am, like with
Yes,
all the positive feedback, and
yes,
that there's an element of that's pretty true because I
yes,
did get a ton of love from the membership while I was out at the World Series.
yes,
But what I
yes.
found irritating about it,
Uh,
it's like you got your own audience. There are people encouraging me to let you be you. They
yeah,
don't want me to
yeah. Hey,
micromanage you.
hey, and
And I
not
found that offensive.
Hey, because not all of them are 60, 70 years old and boring. All right. Most of the membership is younger. They like a little fire. They like a little controversy. They like a little bit of that. So,
You know what? All like it's like totally serious. Like that's the most impressive thing about the support that's being thrown at our show. Like I got 20-year-olds walking up to me who weren't born when you and I were playing in our heyday, and introducing themselves and talking about how much they dig the show, man. I don't even know, I mean, I can't even put into words how cool I think that is.
So we should tell people that we were planning on discontinuing the show.
No, you can.
After this World Series.
You can. I think I might have even told some of the people that I was talking to. It's like, man, honestly, for a while I was suffering burnout, and I did. This goes back to before. I think we had little Ricky on back in like December, somewhere back around like the All-Star game. I don't know if it was after the New Year or before the beginning of the New Year, but we had little Ricky on, and I had told you before that show, it's like, dude, man, after we get through the World Series, I think I'm done with the Beep-Ball Blues show, man. I'm just burned out on trying to find the content. And then little Ricky comes on talking about how he looks up to us and listens to every show. I remember during the show, I said it to you cryptically. I was like, man, that makes me rethink what I told you. I mean, obviously, I got no thoughts of cutting it down to every other week during the off season made it so much easier to stay kind of energized about it. So, I mean, there's like right now a lot of content. I think we need to chase after. We got to get the edge out here, and they on top of what they did on the field. Leah Michaels won the Jim Quinn Award, so I think that's like one of the biggest honors you could get in the league. So I want to get her. Corey Whiteman came up to me like 2 different times offering love, and so I'd love to get him part of that. And Erod had another defensive MVP season. And Miguel, stop calling me Teo. That dude, man, not only was he like seeking me out to talk about the show, dude's wearing he's on the edge out there winning championships, walking around with his Sirens hat all the time. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that dude. I can't imagine. So I thought he likes being called Miguel Tello. The dude walks around with a Mexican flag in his hand. Like literally before I knew who I was talking to, he took his Mexican flag and put it in my hand. His name's pronounced, if I'm saying it right, you know me, I'm not too bilingual. Teo, instead of Teo, it's spelled Tello, but pronounced Miguel Teo. So Teo. He was the designated fielder. Because I was the announcer at the championship game. He was the Edge's designated fielder, and I was taking some liberty. I didn't want to go crazy, and I didn't want to do too much for one team and not enough for the other. Like I didn't.
Oh, what you weren't able to show as much enthusiasm for the Jets team, man. As much.
No, I did more. I probably did. I know more of the nicknames on the Jets.
Oh, so I got you.
I was trying to give love to, like, I show the same energy, I guess it's the best way to put it, for both teams. I didn't want to show favoritism, but if Miguel had made a play, nothing really got out his way or whatever, so he didn't make any putouts. But if Miguel made a play, I wanted to break that out. Miguel, stop calling me Teo on the play. I was thinking about it on the. I didn't think. I don't think. I guess I would have. There's nothing wrong with it. When D. Smith scores runs for the Jets, the Jets have literally, like, they won the sportsmanship award.
Yeah,
and it's because they got songs for everybody, and all this stuff they do that just I don't know. It doesn't get on, like, it doesn't get old for me. Like, it makes me smile each time. But
that's funny. It shows how long it's been since you have been a competitor. The Boston Renegades used to do that stuff all the time.
Oh, no, if I'm on, I love the Renegades too.
And
now,
it's like, man, you know what? It's like, shut up.
Yeah. No, I love the Renegades now. Like, listening to their song. Like, people have complained about whoever's doing the streams sometimes singing along with the team. I like it. It makes it fun for me. But I'm with you. When I was on the field, no, shut the hell up, or we'll shut you up.
No.
There's only one way. Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's only one way to shut those songs up, man. Shut them down. You ain't singing if you ain't scoring. So no, I'm with you there when I'm on the field. Well, I was going to say about David Smith though. After he scores, and this part's inappropriate for probably, but when he scores, they always do this D's nuts. And so I was thinking on the plane ride home, it would have been funny when David Smith came up if I went D Smith. Think about. I'm sure Jerry, our president, would have been sitting there like, no, he better not. Psych about. That was fun. I was really uptight about doing the announcing going in.
Shocking. You tend to get a little nervous about things beforehand, man. But I always say, man, it'll be fine, man. You're natural at these things, man.
Well, I don't know if I'm a natural at that or whatever. I'm not gonna say I'm a natural at anything, but I don't know. I mean, part of it, like we've played in that game so much, like it meant something to me. You know what I mean? And if I'd be judgmental if I'm sitting out on the field and you got a ass hat on the microphone. In the end, it didn't matter because we'll probably talk about this a little more later, but the job of getting a PA system for the championship game was dropped. And so they literally had to go out at like midnight and go to Walmart and buy like a little megaphone. So I was, and there was gusting winds during like 4 of the 6
Yeah,
innings.
man. Hey, who the hell decided to put a World Series in the middle of freaking the heat wave and the tornado alley? I don't know.
Well, fortunately, I know.
I'm just messing with you, based upon our.
I mean, if it wasn't there, it would have been in Texas or someplace else. Although, I mean, you say that, I don't know if you remember this, but the '98 tournament that was in Oklahoma, like literally a week after we had been there for the World Series, a tornado went through there and literally wiped out the hotel that we'd been staying in.
Yeah.
And I
remember being out there on the field when they set off one of those like sirens or whatever. It's like, where the hell did we go, man? We're out in the middle of this field, man.
That happened right after the championship game because they had these. I never really figured out if it was a Norman, Oklahoma rule or if it was something that NBBA implemented really. But if the heat index reached a certain point, they had to clear the fields, and so they started the championship game at like 9:30 in the morning, just in case 2 had to be played, and they're trying to get ahead of the heat. And there was one game, so the championship game was over before noon. And right at noon on Saturdays, they run the tornado siren just as a test. So literally, like everybody's out in the parking lot saying goodbyes and stuff. And woo! And I'm sure like all the people that kind of live down south knew right away it was nothing, but for the rest of the locals.
Like, what the hell are we gonna do out here, man?
There's
no cellar anywhere, man. I need a cellar, man. So, but
yeah, man.
So I don't know, perhaps we should move our World Series out of the hottest parts of the nation and out of Tornado Alley. I always vote for Minnesota. Beautiful spot. But I digress.
I don't see it going there again for a while. Because you're talking about Rochester, who's hosted 3, but they. At least when I was last involved with the tournament committee, their available space isn't. God, I've got my phone muted. I've got it locked. It's still making noises. They were running out of space for the size of our tournament, but also the last time they wanted to bid when I was involved, they couldn't get hotel rates under like $139 a night or something. So nobody's gonna get the tournament at those prices. Man, it was a wild ride, Seth. Just right from the beginning, it was all like different than anything you and I have experienced. Because like I was traveling all day Wednesday, and I didn't know anything about the heat index stuff. And I was landing at like 10 after 6, and my plan was always to go straight to the Wool game if it was still going on. But it started at 6. I didn't know how quick I could get there. And so as soon as the plane touched down, I called Axel Cox. I was like, dude, you out at the Wool game? He's like, no, I'm in the bar. It's like, uh-oh. The Jets went 0-2. They're done. All right, give it up, man. But for the record, he wasn't drinking, but he was in the bar socializing and just told me that the Wool game had been canceled because of the heat index. I didn't know anything about the rest of the tournament. So, I was on the way to the hotel, and Richie Flores and Rosina Foster started texting me and told me they're in the bar or whatever. So, well, whatever. I just ran up to my room when I got there, dropped my stuff, and went down where I was most comfortable, set off, and where you get all the best beat ball information. And by the time I got there, though, there was a coaches captains meeting going on where they were trying to figure out what was going on. So like games on Wednesday had gotten canceled.
Right.
And I was like, they started the games at like 6:30 in the morning, Oklahoma time the next day, with plans of having like night games, man. And that's the way it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I mean, I'm sorry, not Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Games were starting at like 6 in the morning and going, and other games, like they weren't just night games; they were starting at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Man, it was wild. It was wild.
So it's the new reality of our climate change society, man, and that heat index. I'm sure, like if that heat index would have been in effect, those ideas, right? So that's why I have to like cancel practice when it's 116 and stuff, because there's all these new heat index regulations.
Oh, we got that stuff
out.
Here.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, it doesn't affect my life. So
I mean, there's all sorts. I mean, that at least as they filter it down through the high school and stuff like that. So we have these regulations, but I would imagine like back in '88 in Austin in that hot ass World Series that we would have been up over a dangerous heat index and stuff like that. But it's all different now how they judge the heat and whether it's safe or not and what you're supposed to do. We have a whole like different if it's 95, you can do this. If it's 100, you can do this. If it's 105, you have to cancel everything. So
right.
it's all laid out and stuff like. So it didn't surprise me at all that Oklahoma had something already in place that just trumped what was going on within the World Series.
And I think that's probably good for the membership to hear. I mean, you told me something I didn't know about our own area or whatever, but I mean, that players are really pissed off about how it was kind of all handled. And I'm not going to dive into any of that because like I guess in the end, it didn't affect me in any way. And I so I wasn't so vested in that. But they had time limits on games.
Right.
One of the weird things with the time limit, because they had like a 2-hour and 15-minute time limit.
Right.
They were taking 5-minute water breaks after the second and the fourth innings, and they counted those in the time of the time limit.
You're right.
Huh?
I mean, I hear you. Yeah.
I do think that's somewhat weird or unfair. You know what I mean? Especially in one of the games. Not sure which game it was. I know it was one of the games that Rosina and DB were doing. But I didn't listen to a lot because I was out at the fields. I guess I had to have been in my room listening at that point. But I mean, like one of those breaks ended up being over 10 minutes. It wasn't a 5-minute break. So
I mean, the only thing is though that it's not like they're leaving the field; they're still in the heat. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about you as a player. Well, they consider the volunteers also. That's part of the reason they do it. But as a player, I don't want to stop. Let's get the game in and get out here sooner than later. If possible.
No, and again, I believe that is probably mandated stuff, right? That they're. I mean, I don't know again how Oklahoma is, but we have all sorts of regulations as it deals with heat out here.
Okay, yeah, and but the second and fourth inning breaks is something they might have started back in Wichita. I know it was going on in Beaumont last year.
Right.
But so I'm not sure if that's like an MBBA thing or if they're following regulations. In the end, I expect that because I expect us to have a lot of the players that have been involved. I'm gonna let them bring that stuff to the table. You know what I mean? They could eat. They'll all have the
Well,
freedom
can I
to.
just throw one thing out there? Well, just real quick, two things on the water breaks. Again, like they tend to be mandated. Just a couple of weeks ago, Landry was playing in a soccer tournament when it was it was hella hot out here, and they were mandating water breaks during the soccer game. They would stop the game and all that stuff. They would stop the time as well. But two, and we could talk when we get players on here. I thought that the players saying, "Oh, it should be up to the players," blah blah blah, is absolute nonsense, right? A couple years ago or last year, when there was a blizzard in Buffalo, New York, they didn't ask the Bills if they wanted to go play in Detroit, right? It wasn't up to the
Right.
players, right? It wasn't up to the
Yeah,
players. The
yeah,
league
yeah.
made a decision. The players have to follow it, right?
Right.
That's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? And so I hear the players crying, "Hey, we should be consulted." No, you shouldn't. Not in that situation. No, you
Yeah.
shouldn't. You should just
And listen,
accept what's going on.
I'm somebody that cares about the leadership of the league, and I realize if I was in that position of having to make the decisions, I can't make a decision based on the players' emotions.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm
right,
100% aware of that. When I was saying we'll let the players deal with it, I wasn't trying to shut the conversation
No, no,
down.
no. I know you weren't.
I was more trying to put it out to the players. Like I'm not diving in and taking up a stake right here, but you guys, when you come on the show, will all have the freedom to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. And your experience, like as a coach and a leader in the youth league or whatever, having to make these decisions, I think we'll have good feedback for them also or whatever.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no. So it was crazy. It was definitely a wild time. A wild time. But hell, we should be trying to get our games in and out and done under 2 hours and 15 minutes anyway, right? That's a problem, right? When the NFL had 3 hour games, they said, "Man, it's too long, right?
Yeah.
We need to cut the game down," and they changed the rules to speed the game up, right? And football is the most popular sport in the nation. If you think that people are going to come out and watch beat ball for 3 freaking hours, or a network's going to pick up beat ball for 3 hours, you are freaking tripping. If the NFL didn't like 3 hours, if Major League Baseball doesn't like 3 hours, beat ball cannot do 3 hours. There has to be something to cut down the scores. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No apology. I love this game, and me, like outside of DB, maybe Greg Roberts, who I got to spend some time with, our boy Greg. Like I listen to more streams than anybody probably, outside of just a few people. I know there's some I don't even know about, but there's not a large crowd that listens to more of the streams than me. I had to turn games off. It just or go home to the hotel because the games were just too long. I love the game, but I'm not here for a 30 to 25 game. That's not how I came up in this game, man.
It's not.
I mean, the fields were pretty fast or whatever.
Right.
I was out with the Sirens practicing on Friday morning. Shout out to my Sirens. Like after 3 days in the heat, they let me take them out and teach them some drills. They're doing hustle plays. And, I haven't chased a beat ball in almost 14 years, man. So I went ahead and did some hustle plays. I didn't have cleats on. As soon as I go to get on my feet, my shoes were slipping on the hay that they were playing on. So they were fast fields.
No, and that's always something that you have to deal with. That's like just something you can't really deal. But there has to be something. There has to be a set of rules that are put in that try to cut down on the scoring. Man, I mean, it has to be like a focus of the league. Man, you got to cut down scoring. Got to cut down the game time, and package it to be a more watchable game. Yeah,
I do. I do. The key word, like when you say package it, like everybody who cares about this league would like to see it in a bigger light. You know what I mean? Even if it's ESPN 5 or
Right, exactly.
whatever their smallest little piece of their pie is. I mean, that would still be awesome. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right, and that's why, like, when we've talked about different ways to kind of change how the tournament is played, like, I propose the idea of, instead of like having the top 16, all play in the same double elimination tournament, having 8 teams in bracket A and 8 teams in bracket B. Each bracket plays a double elimination tournament, and the 2 teams that advance from that play a one game takes all on Saturday. I feel like that makes it more marketable for a network. The possibility of a second game when we're begging them to give us one game is out of the question.
Right.
It's out of the question. They're not going. We're not college softball. We're not
exactly.
college baseball. They don't give a shit about us. We've got to make it more packageable for them, I feel.
Exactly.
And that's one way to do it. And for some of the things that I think would be more appropriate on Saturday, like the long ball like our conversation yesterday, you talked about wanting Saturday to be a bigger deal. But when there's a possibility of 2 4-hour games, you can't plan anything.
You can't do it. No. So I agree. I want that. That is, if you could make a way, and we've talked about it and figured it out before, but if you can make the championship game one game, that has to be, that's got to be a priority, because that's the only thing that will ever get anybody even to think about it. It's like, no, hell no, we don't have 8 hours to give to you guys. Hell no, right? Make Saturday an extravaganza, man.
Yeah, and I mean, we could have the Wool game played on a Saturday in front of people without having to start it at 7 in the morning. You know what I mean? We could have the long ball and the running contest after the tournament rather than before, when people can pull a hamstring, in a useless contest or whatever. I mean, I'm sorry to call it useless,
but no,
I do feel like it's useless.
It is a useless contest. I mean, it's just, it's a for fun thing,
Yeah. And if players want to do it, I'm cool with that.
You're right though. Like, you don't want to pull a hamstring before the World Series, and I know it keeps some people from wanting to do it. They're like, oh no, I'm good, But I think if you did it after the World's or on Saturday, you could actually get a more legit, home run hitting contest. There were people who hit home runs this year. I mean, you couldn't have like pulled David Smith because he'd be playing, but you know what I mean. You like, hey, these are our top 5 hitters, long ball hitters of the tournament. Let's put them out there. Again, it has to be an extravaganza sort of thing, but it starts with people being open to changing rules, right? You gotta not do it in the same way things have always been done. Right? We got to advance things.
The last time I suggested that whole like 2 brackets coming down to just a one game winner takes all, because I already know the players' response. Like, we're talking about how to consolidate it down to a more marketable thing, but I know a lot of the attitude would be like, well, if we get down to 2 teams, they should play best 2 out of 3. Like, we're going away from what I'm trying to say. And we're going away, and that would be too many games. I figured out the math for that. Literally, any team that came up through the losers bracket would be playing like 12, 13 games or something crazy with the best 2 out of 3. But man, last time I suggested that, I was getting calls from MBBA leadership like 5 minutes after we put the show out. Don't do that. It's like, come on, why are you even worried about it? Nobody even responded to anything I said. Calm down. Just throwing out thoughts, man. Throwing out thoughts. A couple quick things from going out and hitting the fields right away, because I I told you I ran into Rosina at the bar like the first night I was there. She was staying at a different hotel, but once I heard that everybody's going out to the field at 6:30, it's like, man, I don't even know, like, if the bus is out, because I at that point was going to be dependent on the transportation that's provided.
Right.
It's like, I don't even know, like, how early they're going to be out there. So Rosina was cool. Said, oh, if I was outside my hotel at 5:45 a.m. for beat ball, she would grab me. So she took me out there, and I was like, man, I know you're like going to stream a game, but could you help me find a different field? I'm not going to your game. So she found Glenn Hopkins, our boy coach from the Blackhawks. He was rolling around in a golf cart, so I jumped in the cart and he took me to where the sirens were, and they were playing Cleveland. And the first people I got to see were Nathan and Rob Wygant, which is cool. I've actually never met. I was around Nathan when he was a little kid, but I've never got a chance to meet him. So it was cool to, see right out of the gate, get to see a few people from our era, really. Well, at least, Rob, one of the people we competed against for years.
Well, I played with him too. I played with him and Nathan.
Yeah. But a funny thing, like I ended up, I was the base operator for that game, and after the game was over, the first night, Wednesday, I met a dude from Cleveland, and I feel bad that I've forgotten his name, but I don't feel as bad as I would have. He was one of the first people. He just heard me over in the bar talking to Rosina and strolled over and just started talking about how much he loved the show we do. And, again, he was like a young player that I didn't even know or whatever, that's digging what we're doing. So I appreciated that. But the next morning after the game was over, he brings Wilbert Turner over to shake my hand. And you're going to love this. Wilbert comes over and it's like, hey, man, it's Neil. It's like, Neil? He told me Bam Bam was over here. Wilbur's all disappointed. He came all excited to see Bam Bam. Man, so I feel so bad that I forgot dude's name. He didn't know who I was. Oh, man.
He was mistaken.
Wilbur's 69 years old. Man.
Really?
69 years old. He was playing in that game, and he knocked his shoulder out of joint, dude. He didn't leave the field. He came over to say hi with his arm dangling out of its socket, dude.
Hey, they don't make people like they used to make them. You know what I'm saying?
No, dude didn't even care. He's like, yeah, they can't let me batting. I can't lift my arm. But anyways, man, it's good to see you. You too, Wilbur.
What's up, Wilbur Turner?
Hot game, fellas.
Hot game. Let's get out there. We are the inspirations. Woo!
I'll pull up the run down what people did in the games or whatever, and our award winners. Just how the final results and who won what or whatever. Because I've got a little bit of something here and there from a lot of the teams, so I figured some of it I'll just throw out as we go down the list. But just another quick note as far as like you and I and back when we played. You remember the Stalkouts from the Sonics?
Yeah,
Randy, unfortunately, Dave Stalkup's no longer with us. Rest in peace. One of the first dudes I ever played with back in '87. But Randy Stalkup was out there with his son Bill. Bill was the catcher for Jim all those years. We had all those battles with the Sonics. But I got to see them for a while. I was out with my Sirens at the undefeated game on Friday, and got to hang out with the Stalkups a little bit. So that was cool.
The Sonics. The young kids were a key to
Randy and his sister. I can't think of his sister's name. Christy or Christine.
Christine. Yeah. They were core members of the Bam Bam fan club, man.
I wanted to ask about Jim and Randy, but I believe Jim was like a married-in version of the Stalkups, and it gets kind of awkward 30 years later. I have no idea, so I ended up not going down that road. But a couple of years ago, it made me smile too, because like Randy is like 10, 12 years old when he was watching us. But gosh, this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a conversation in Beat Ball Nation about the best smack talkers, the best shit talkers in beat
Right.
baseball, trash talkers, whatever. And there are people going on and on, throwing names out there. Here comes Randy Lyons. 100% Neil McDonald. I was like, oh, that's my dude. That was a little kid recognizing my talent back then.
All right. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I mean, we're friends on Facebook, so I see his posts and stuff. Coaching, he got his own kids and stuff
Oh, I
like
didn't know.
that.
I'm friends with him and Jim on Facebook, but I haven't seen anything from them in a long time.
Yeah, no, every once in a while he'll pop up on I believe he coaches like maybe for the Richmond Braves or something like that. He talks about his son. I think he must be, getting a little older in the teenage years and stuff. So I always try to follow Randy and see what's going on with him and stuff like that. It seems like I haven't talked to him, but we should have the Bam Bam fan club on the show one day. 30 years later, man, the Bam Bam fan club. But
yeah, right.
I digress.
People have no idea how big a thing that was. Like we even before we were the Dogs, like from the Blaze days and the Thrasher days, we had a following. I say we, but it was really Seth, because Seth would always be our. They loved that he was called Bam Bam. and like he's always who represented us in the long ball contest or whatever. And man, there'd just be a gang of kids. Jared Woodard and his two sisters, part of that crowd. Follow us around. I want to see Bam Bam hit.
Yeah,
little Okies. They loved you, man.
I always say that all the teams in the tournaments hated us, but the kids loved us, man.
I remember you gave one of them your jersey.
Yeah, I get that. I believe
Randy's sister, or is it Randy?
It was back in like '95, so I don't know which one I gave it to.
Yeah.
But I know Randy has it. He says he has it in his closet still. I saw he posted something like that, which is cool. 20, 28, 25 years later, 30
No,
years
I
later.
remember at the time when you gave it to him, just like these kids were so small, I was thinking like that would be like a long dress for any one of those kids because the jersey was so big.
Yes.
And I meant to bring this up at the beginning as part of my angry outburst toward you. You are one of 3 names that made my Hall of Fame speech.
I'm gonna have you give your Hall of Fame. I didn't even want to ask, man, because in the end, I would have been offended if I.
Which now I regret. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could take it back. But a trivia question, I was gonna see if you could guess who the other 2 names were. And before you answer, I will give you a tiny hint that one of them goes back all the way to my Thrashers, like from the 80s.
Oh, I have no doubt that's Bill Ballou.
No. He played for the North Bay Nemesis. He didn't play for the Thrashers.
Oh, for the Thrashers. I thought he played. You guys were on the same team. From the Thrashers. From the Thrashers. Whoever played on the Thrashers?
That should be the easiest. I just gave you a hint when you don't even deserve hints. You always want things to be hard for people.
Yeah, I don't know. Jill, Tiffany.
Oh my God.
John should. Your buddy John?
No. Greg Parra.
Oh,
Greg Parra. Easy, man. Me and Greg go back to the beginning.
Yes. I was thinking blind folk. I noticed
that. I wasn't going to help you any further.
Yeah, if you would have given me sighted people, that would have been easier to. And then I can guess the third one. It was Don Robinson.
Nope.
No, I didn't. I'm joking. What? Mike Finn? No E-Dog?
I mean, listen. I admitted that I played with a ton of great talent throughout my from the beginning with Bill Blue, and on to Slick and Johnny Guzman and all the Hall of Famers now from the Dogs, E-Dog, Bob, Mike. But not really. In the end, like you, Greg, and there are a few others, Bill Johnson too, Mark Masterson, who fall into this. But you, Mike and Greg, anytime I said, man, we got enough, we're going, you guys never doubted me.
All right. Well, that's true. That's true.
So
Hey, well, hey, I'm happy that I made the speech, Neil Dog.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
if it was next week, not a chance.
I appreciated making Mike Finn's speech too, so I appreciate it.
Only one team name. I know you won't get that right either.
What? That you gave out?
There was only one team mentioned in my speech.
Oh, I mean, what? If it's not the
Sirens.
Oh, okay.
The Sirens. No, and the reason I brought them up is, and then that's really kind of what's like got me so vested in them. Like from the beginning, because the article I wrote about them, which I'm going to angrily address before we're done. The article that I wrote about the Sirens, I started back in June. I go with like a 2-hour Zoom meeting with their whole team, and just writing the article and having like Cassandra as their coach was reaching out at times asking for advice, and just got me kind of vested in them. But that combined with like the Hall of Fame thing and just realizing how like lucky I was to have opportunities. You know what I mean? It's like if the same me was coming up right now, I don't even know how I would learn about people. Like everything really fell into place for me. You know, I had my coach from the Thrashers reach out to North Bay and East Bay when I knew we weren't going to the World Series, and North Bay picked me up not knowing who I was. And they're only going to pick up one player, and Dave Stallcup reached out to him shortly after that. I got like his spot, and he was an experienced player. You know what I mean? He was living in Sacramento at that time, but he had been playing for the Wichita Sonics through the 80s. And you know what I mean? It's like I could have missed that opportunity. I've told you before, when I first reached out to Don to get on the Blaze, he said no at first. And I reached out to the Blackhawks. They said no. It's like I was 22 and I didn't have a team, man.
Right.
So like I ended up on the Blaze, and that led to the Dogs. And you know, I mean, I couldn't have had more opportunity, but I just as easily could have had none. And so, like the opportunity that the Sirens were given, their players, their young players, Clara, our female rookie of the year, Caitlin Overshiner, and Corey, but also like Whitney, who was on the show with us when we talked about 7 players, my girl Wit, and Caitlin. Catherine Warner, like all these players like have been interested in beat ball for a while and got their first opportunities. And I don't know, it's hard not to appreciate that when realizing how lucky I was, I guess. So anyway, so I had to throw them in. I got a lot of clowning, like, why are you with the Sirens? Because it's all girls. And even like I expect that from the guys, but I was getting that from women too. It's like, yeah. At 55 years old, I came all the way back out here to chase after a bunch of 20-year-olds, you idiots. Yes, that's me. That's me. I'm that shallow. Thank you. What?
That's not you. Might be other people. It's not you.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It might be other people, but it is not you. I can attest to that one. So.
Before I'm gonna start running down I'll start with the offensive tournament.
Let's go quick. Everybody knows. Everybody was there. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go.
I know, right? Shout out though, because you mentioned David Smith and his home runs. 7 home runs hit this year in the World Series, more than ever. Christian Thaxton, Corey White. I knew I was gonna forget one. Christian Thaxton, Corey White. Oh, Justin. Justin Holland and White Lightning, man. White Lightning's named the Thunder and Lightning, man. That dude's got power and speed. I had no idea.
Most of them hit on the first day?
A lot of them, at least 3 on the first day. I guess Corey White hit his on his first pitch of the tournament. Is what I read, I think, on the MBBA page. David Smith hit 3 home runs in this tournament. No one's ever. I mean, last year when Justin Holland hit 2, was first time anybody hit 2, and this dude Steve Smith hit 3, and his team's upset. They think that he had a 4th one. So just incredible, and none of that was mentioned at the. At the banquet. No single thing about that. Or about my Sirens making history. for the first time being there. Like the only mention of the Sirens doing anything for the first time, making history, came from me in my speech. Darnell Booker's upset about that. He thought something should have been said ahead of time. I thought something should have been said ahead of time. It's disappointing that it didn't. There was no love offered, but they're like Miguel Teo and this dude Courtney Williams, who we've got to get on the show. Like you and Courtney got something in common. Both of you walking around with buckshot in your heads. And he that dude had a deep story as far as like how he got where he was. He plays with Atlanta. I never knew him for more than a name before the tournament, but he's a good dude. It's somewhere down the road. We got to grab him, bring him on the show. But he showed the Sirens a lot of love. He was always up in my jello, man. I kept finding him in our Sirens headquarters. Dude didn't even knock. He just walked in like he was like, I knocked. That was Sirens headquarters. I had to knock to go in there. This dude just kept walking in all the time. Like he owned the place. But I gotta give him a pass because he gave them a lot of support and love. So that's a dude definitely I want to get on the show as we go on, start bringing people in. So our offensive award, offensive MVP, another dude that I met Friday night, Cody Jeffares. Played with the Thunder for the first time this year, coming over from the Chaos. And that dude's is a humble dude. So I thought I had a good talk with him Friday night. Like he literally, when he went to the Thunder, didn't even know if he'd be starting or not. And that guy had a great year for them offensively. David Smith, number 2, after his MVP season last year and his 3 home runs this year. Your boy Tanner Gers, is he? It's Gers, right?
I don't know.
I hear people say both.
Yeah,
I've always assumed it was Gers, even though the computer says Gers. But
yeah, I think it's Gers. To be honest,
you're right. I think you're right. But the Tan man, 7-year absence from the offensive tournament team. I think this was his 7th time on the offensive team. So great year from him. Fonzie, obviously. Gerald Dycus up there like always. Casey Krouse, this dude, man, made the team on offense and defense. So that's his spot there. On the offensive team, his teammate, Justin Rhines, and our boy, Ronald Jordan from the Tyler Tigers, tied for the last spot with, what's their average? 757 was the lowest spot on the tournament team.
Clearly an offensive tournament.
Yeah, let me go up, give you Cody's average. 872 for your MVP. That's almost a 90% success rate. That's crazy. On defense, like I always start out.
Got to figure out a way to knock those down. the got to figure out a way to knock those down. That's for the competition committee, though. But go ahead. On defense.
I agree. I already admitted as happy as I was to be out at the World Series, I had no desire to sit out in that heat and watch a 4-hour game, man. Crazy. And even the 2-hour time limits, they're like 25 to 20. You know what I mean? I got a defensive background, man. It's like, I can't. You're hurting me.
All right, go ahead. Let's roll through this defensive team. Let's go.
Eric Rodriguez, MVP. Zach Arambula from the Jets, number 2. Casey Krouse, number 3 on defense. Randy George of the Titans. I didn't get a chance to meet him. Nestor Gonzalez, the only person I had a chance to meet from the Titans. But Randy George had a great year. I didn't get to shake Marvin Morgan's hand, man. I wanted to, but just didn't work out. Ethan Johnston, I did get to see that dude, and man, right in the bar in front of everybody, we gave the biggest man hug anybody's ever seen. I think that's my dude. And Stanley Griffin of the Crappers. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That's not some joke that we make off camera that just slipped out. I don't know where that came.
Hey. In all the years I've been playing and have heard of
nobody's
the
ever called them that.
Never thought of the Cleveland Crappers, man. Never in my life, man.
I hope I did not start that. That's horrible.
Oh, that's funny, man.
Stanley played with the Tigers last year, Tyler, and made the all defensive team, and here he is again, making it for the Cleveland Scrappers. This year was the 40th anniversary of the Scrappers. Pitcher catcher, Jared Woodard, Darnell Booker. thank you to Darnell and the Thunder hooking me up in the Embassy Suites. Melanie Taylor's actually who did that for me. But man, I was so happy to be in the host hotel, especially because I just by chance ended up on the same floor with all my sirens. I didn't have to get on the elevator to go visit, kick Courtney out of their room. Little scrounge. And Spotters War to Rose. Is her last name Garcia? Yeah, Rose Garcia and Kat Paris, Lupe's wife, got the Spotters Award. So they had the best defense out there. You know, we love that. Male Rookie of the Year, Mark Ivy. Remember him from the Lookouts, the Ivy brothers. Were you on that show? You were on that show
Oh
with
yeah,
Tim and his team. Yeah,
you know I don't remember shit though. Come on now.
fair
It's
enough.
hard. It's
Fair enough.
lot of names.
Yeah. But
know.
no, Mark was high on the list for projected male rookies of the year just because he's got a baseball background. He's a left-hander. He's got Tim pitching to him or whatever. So it was, I don't know. I think pretty widely assumed that it'd either be he or his brother for male rookie or Caleb Wright of the Archers. But I think Mark was a full-time player where, Caleb's on a more experienced team. So, he, didn't get quite as much time.
I don't know if I faded or you faded, but I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I had just gotten a note that my connection was having an issue.
All right.
Anyways, our female rookie of the year, Caitlin Overshiner, who we started just calling Caitlin Shiner because she finished the tournament with a black eye out there fielding balls to the face. So I was proud of Caitlin. I got all excited. Sportsmanship, I already said, went to the Jets. Jim Quinn Award went to Mama Laya Michaels from the Edge. I think that's a huge award, so I was very happy for her. Roger Keeney, though, also, who we lost in this last year, and I remember meeting Roger at the very first World Series I went to in '87. He was a great ambassador for our game his entire life, and we lost him this year, but he also received a Jim Quinn Award. I think that's pretty much it. Except for some of your teammates. Also one as far as the Hall of Fame inductees who actually were inducted in 22, but they weren't there to accept one of your former teammates, Bobby Lakey, was inducted. John Kibido, who wasn't able to be there to accept for himself.
Skip and go Kibido. Our
boy Leroy Rodriguez accepted on his behalf. And someone I got to play with, Scott Hudson. He played with the Roadrunners. I think he goes back to when the league started. He was out there. He was the only one that did his speech out at the fields. And the rest of us got to do it at the banquet. And they did that really for time. But man, this isn't about me because I got to do it at the banquet. I hope the NBBA goes back to letting all the inductees do their speech at the banquet. Tell them it's got to be short. Like, I didn't need a lot of time. I just wanted a little bit of time to say thank you, whatever. But man, Scott Hudson, one of our game's like true heroes, out on the field at 9 o'clock in the morning with a fucking megaphone in his fucking hand, man. And that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, man. It's the last little recognition that any of us are going to get as far as what we've done on the field. And,
I know as you said that, that's not true. They induct people into the Hall of Fame who are still playing.
No, you're right. I know you're right.
But go ahead. I know
No, you're right. You're right. But I don't know. I just the banquet is just so much more appropriate for the moment. Right. I think the field is cool. Like, I kind of get where the thought process is with that. It's a championship game, and give them some love with the people who are out there. But now with all these, hydration rules and heat index rules. When I found out I was doing my speech at 9 o'clock in the morning with 17 of the teams at the hotel with hangovers, it's like, man, all right, but nobody's gonna be there to hear it. You know what I mean? When they asked me if I would mind it being in the banquet, like, I mean, I didn't respond real strong, but inside I was like, hell yeah, I don't mind, man. I mean, I brought like a nice shirt or whatever, but I would have brought something better than jeans if I knew I was going to be speaking at the banquet. But I mean, either way, I don't know. I feel like it's appropriate at the banquet. We need to keep it short. I mean, in the past, we've had some Hall of Fame speeches go on 15, 20 minutes, and you can't have that. You know what I mean? It's got to be short, but I don't know. I beg the MBBA to give us our moment. I want to get Scott Hudson on our show at some point because he deserves more than 2 minutes on a megaphone in the end. And I know that wasn't anybody's plan. It was a mix-up we already talked about, but. I don't know. I would love to see every single Hall of Famer that gets inducted from here on out have the same opportunity to speak at the banquet that I was blessed to have. So that's just my own thoughts. Shoot, honestly, I don't really have a lot else. But I did mention. I mean, I told you yesterday in our conversation, I've been kind of tripping on the league's leadership since I got back. And I mean, the whole plane ride home, I was thinking about it because I had a conversation with somebody way up asking me to think about what more roles I would like to have with the MBBA. But I mean, I don't know. I'm on the tournament or not. I'm on the PR committee. I'm on the ranking committee. I'm doing this show with you, which the MBBA doesn't even, care to acknowledge exists. They're ashamed to share any part of it. But like, I don't know. I feel like I got roles. You know what I mean? That I'm trying to fill or whatever. I'm not sure where they're going with asking what more I want to do. But man, I would like to see more done with what I've already done. The article I wrote about the sirens never even got put up on the fucking homepage. And DB's article about the Bolingbrook history still sitting there on the fucking homepage. While my sirens who made history and I was asked to write an article about them for the MBBA, my article never made the homepage. Still not up there. So I don't know. I mean, you want me to have more roles? Why not acknowledge the roles I'm taking or whatever? Plus that, unless I'm mistaken, I think the sirens are going to leave a role open for me. I don't know what it is, but man, if the sirens want me, they're going to have me as long as they're willing to take me. I've got some roles that I'm happy with, man. Our show takes up a lot of time, really, in the end. Just organizing it, promoting it, and now that we do the podcast, me editing it, like, I don't know. I'm not looking to.
So basically, what you're saying is you're not doing anything else for the MBBS.
I don't know, man. I don't. Okay, I never. I mean.
I'll just 5 minutes after
I stepped on a field, I was asked to operate bases. I did that. I was asked to announce a game. I mean, I don't say no to the MBBA, but man, I am tripping on this league's leadership. I don't know who the fuck is calling shots because I'm bitching about my article not being up on the homepage. That's not on Richie. Richie's been trying to get it on the homepage since before the World Series. He's not, even though he's the PR director, he's not being given the power to do this. I don't know. I would call it out by name if I knew who had the power. I don't know who has the power. I don't know who's making these decisions. If Richie can't make them as the PR director, I don't know who's making decisions. And after having some conversation with Jerry, our president, I didn't get clear answers from him on who's really making all the decisions. And it's the whole plane ride home. All I could think about is the tail is wagging the fucking dog in some cases with our league. I felt this way last year when we did our show with Andrea. Like, we couldn't get clear answers on who was calling shots last year. And a year later, I don't know who's calling shots. I'm sorry to call this out like this or whatever. Well, I'm not really, or I wouldn't do it. I I don't know who's in charge of what. So me wanting to just jump in and do whatever I'm being asked to do, whatever a little piece of the league they'll grant me or whatever. I don't know that I want to keep operating under these uncertain terms. You know what I mean? I don't know who I'm working for. Shoot. I don't know. I don't know if any of that makes sense. You're the only one that could respond. So if you need clarity, I'm just irritated. I've been irritated since I got back. I'm irritated. I mean, maybe I'm too personally involved with the sirens, but the fact that the NBBA, acts like they're proud of their history and acknowledge nothing of a team doing something for the first time in nearly 50 years. I'm glad NBC News, because I posted the article yesterday. You might have seen it from other people posting it. NBC News went out and did a story on the sirens. Then I knew ahead of time that the sirens were going to be a focus. I didn't know they'd be the only focus. And honestly, I pumped a fist afterwards. Like, hell yeah. You know what? The NBBA didn't recognize you, so I'm glad NBC News didn't recognize anybody else. Kiss my ass. That's what you get. That's what you get. Haha. I'm happy with that. So I'm glad NBC News was willing to recognize, what this team did for a first time. But shit, I wish the NBBA would recognize it. Go put my goddamn article up on the homepage and leave it there for 2 months, like you did DB's article. Whoever the freak is making these decisions. I don't know why now I'm going to clean it up, but it's kind of that ship has sailed.
At this point, yeah. No,
yeah, that ship has sailed. But I mean, I'm not. Claire Bell, you better not be listening. I'll tell you that right now.
You sound as bad as I do talking to my 13U football team. Time to grow up. Funny. Time to grow up.
All right,
well, good.
Man.
You done ranting about this? I know it's real to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's real. And I'm a big believer in the sirens, and what they're doing. I'm a big girl power supporter, so it doesn't surprise me at all that the NBBA would do that, right? Hey, I'm still pissed off about the Darnell Booker thing. Right? Hey, that Darnell, that Steve and Blake over their racist bullshit were able to push Darnell out, and he wasn't returned to his spot, right? So, but to me, that's just par for the course for the NBBA, right? That's how most of the NBBA operates. So, the fact that they didn't acknowledge the sirens, and what the sirens are doing doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't surprise me at all, right? This is still a quote white male driven league, and that's it. So how they did Darnell is bullshit, and I feel you for how they did the sirens. Your article should be up there. The sirens should have been acknowledged. But that's just not how the NBBA is. It's a white male dominated league, and that's what it's about. So
something I've been hearing, like since I was a kid, and more in reference to like Major League Baseball ownership and NFL ownership. It's a good old boy network.
That's a good old boy network, without a doubt.
Unfortunately, listening to you talk, it's like it's hard to step out from that, I guess. You know what I mean? I want to see it change, and I don't know.
Oh,
I guess I'll leave it at that for now. I want to see it change. Before we sign out, I closed my document where I had all the standings. I forgot to run down like 1 through 19, but in the end, I think everybody kind of knows. You know what I mean? Nobody.
Let me tell you, I was sitting there because I came down. I was listening to the last inning of it or whatever, and I was like, God, don't let the Jets win. Don't let the Jets win, right? Why? Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever knows this, right? But the Jets and I seem to have a little rivalry. Like,
Oh
remember
okay,
when they
yeah,
won
yeah,
their championship or the tournament the other a month ago, and they were in the car and
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
throwing all their shit in my face and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. We
And
know
so,
Bam Bam got nothing
yeah,
but Jet
exactly.
love. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
and I was thinking, God, where does that go back to? I didn't even play with most of these guys, but I remember Tulsa and talking all that trash to the Jets.
That
But
was when
I,
you thought Lupe was gonna fight you,
yeah, exactly. I thought
right?
Lupe wanted to fight me. Um, but yes, I like the Jets. I don't have anything against them, but I was not interested in hearing them come on and smile and show their teeth and all that stuff. So,
Man,
but that's just my personal thing. Not my love for the Jets, though. Not my
they're
love.
one of the teams that I've kind of got a closeness with, though, and through the
Yeah,
show
they've
or
only
whatever.
been on the damn show
Yeah.
50,000 freaking
But
times.
no,
I would
away from the
assume.
show though, I've developed a really cool friendship with Axel and
Oh
David
yeah,
Smith
yeah.
and Zach and Little Ricky, Jeremy. But like I
Oh,
interact a
and
fair
then I
amount.
would have been, I would have been happy for Jeremy. Jeremy Lopez never said a word to me,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's
yeah.
not.
No,
He's
and he
certainly
loves
not.
you, dude.
Yeah,
He
he's certainly
loves
not.
you.
He's certainly not the individual I'm talking about
He,
in this
when
stuff.
he was on the first time, you weren't able to make that show, and he was totally disappointed. And
No,
every time he saw me, it was like, "We got to get Bam Bam out here next year, man. We got to get." He when I posted, I shared a lot of the Hall of Fame stuff from the MBBA page on my own page, and man, when he congratulated me, he still mentioned he's congratulating me on the Hall of Fame, still talking about getting you to the World
Yeah.
Series. So
Hey, I got
Jeremy
nothing but
loves
love
you.
for Jeremy Lopez, and what he's done has been nothing but nothing short of incredible, and hey, I mean,
Yeah,
beyond what I thought was
possible.
possible
Yeah.
by large leaps and bounds. And so when I say that I was rooting against the Jets, I'm not rooting against Jeremy. It's just kind of the rivalry
Yeah, yeah,
between
yeah. No, I know. I
David
know.
Smith and Axel and all those people.
Yeah.
And again, we played against each other, so I've never played against Jeremy Lopez. And so so nothing against Jeremy, man. But I was rooting for the I was rooting for the Edge at the end.
My heart breaks for the Jets really because you and I know how hard it is to get to that moment.
Yeah, right. No, I
And
hear
they've been getting there, and I mean they were so close this year. They had the Jets down in the final inning on Friday in the undefeated game, and weren't able to close it out. And the same thing happened Saturday, and
you. All right,
my heart just breaks for them because it's so hard to get to that point. Like
right.
they really only have this year like 7 players. Lupe would have been the 8th, but he was banged up and he wasn't playing. They had like a rotation of 7 players that they made that whole tournament through. You know what I
Right.
mean? And like you can't keep assuming that they'll keep those players healthy next
Right.
year
Every
for another
time, right.
shot. Like
Right.
they're lucky to get through with no major injuries that hold them back and to get so close. I remember, I want to say it was Kevin Simpson that started the conversation. And this goes back again 3 to 5 years ago. And Beat Ball Nation just asking people who's the best team ever to not win a championship.
Right. Right.
And of course our East Bay
Well,
Blaze
well,
was a team that was right one of the front runners. But I mean the Jets have surpassed everybody. They to be right there knocking at the door and to be one of the league's best teams, man. I hope they get a championship
didn't
somehow,
they
some
win
way.
a championship already?
Not
Like,
since they've been the Jets. When
okay.
they were when Axe and Kevin and Zach were still part of the Blackhawks. They won back-to-back championships.
All right.
After the
Okay.
Dogs broke up and half our lineup went to the Blackhawks and made them a
Right.
champion again.
Yeah. Right. I thought it was like the Jets won in like 2016, but I could be tripping on that. That could have been the Blackhawks. You know how it is. But yeah. So and again, it's not like I wanted the Edge to win. I mean, you know what I mean. It was like watching the Niners and the Eagles in the championship game. I didn't want either to really win, but
no, I'm not like, it's weird for me because I don't have a dog in the fight really with all these top teams, and over the last several years, I just simply haven't had a dog in the fight at all.
right.
But I've developed friendships with people from every team. Yeah,
Right.
from at least every team that we've managed to get on so far, and even beyond that or whatever. So like when I'm sitting on the sideline, I'm rooting for both sides. You know what I mean? I'm not rooting against. I didn't play recently, so I don't have any of the feelings you do towards teams. And all my feelings towards the teams are positive because of my friendships with the players. So I really am just kind of neutral when I'm sitting there. But I'm rooting for individuals, and it was hard. Like I've already said, it's just hard for my heart not to break for the Jets because I know how hard it is to get to that. It's so hard to win a championship.
Oh, yeah.
It's so hard to win a championship. And something we were saying when we were winning championships, I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes because, you need the luck of good health and things lining up for you, players being available when you most need them. So, like there's so much has to fall into place for it to happen, and you can't just guarantee that they'll keep getting that close. Especially you got the Thunder and the Fire who are right there knocking too. You know what I mean? So man,
it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Sorry, you guys. Sorry.
You're a dick. I do want to give one more shout out because I was going to do this. I said I was going to go down the list of teams, and that would remind me of some players. Actually, I already remember too. This kid, Melshon from the Atlanta Chaos, is another one that came up my first night there in the bar and was like, man, I love what you guys are doing, man, and keep it up, whatever. He was a Bam Bam fan. Dude, this was his third year playing beat baseball, and for the third year he dislocated his shoulder early in the tournament. He hasn't been able to, and it's not the same arm popping in and out. He's done both sides. And so for the third straight year, he was unable to finish the tournament. And something I never thought about, like back when I had a guide dog, Landau, he had to have the school come get his dog. He didn't work his dog, man.
Right. No, I hear that.
I can't imagine like having to deal with all that. So, man, shout out to Melshon. But the one I was first thinking of is this dude I met, Tracy Jackson, and his wife, Kim. They're also from Georgia, but they were playing with our friends, the Reeds, Larry and the Tyler Tigers. I sat at them. I got to the airport like 5 hours before my flight was set to leave, and sitting at I met them at the gate. We heard each other using our iPhones. Like you got to be here for the tournament, right? Like yeah. So I went down and we had a nice long conversation. This dude just sent me an audio book called the 12 Pillars of Success that I started already last night. But he was just he's somebody else I'd love to get on the show, like his story, how he became blind, another just wild story that I never heard of, and it's weird swapping stories. I was like, I had to give him the nod. It's like you win, man. Like he went through some shit, dude. He I know, a lot of us have to get there, like through the road you and I got there, but man, he's been through it too, and he was a fun dude. So I shout out to Tracy and Kim Jackson. I'd love to get Tracy on the show at some point. Just, I don't know. There's a lot more stories out there. You know what I mean? I know I'm guilty of just kind of going to the teams I know and grabbing easy stuff, but I got to push myself to start digging out some of these. There's some cool stories out there that even though the MBBA doesn't care about us getting them out there, we care, and we're gonna keep getting them out there. If there's anything I learned this past week, that the players care about what we're doing. So I won't stop tripping on anybody else because we did it well. I do it for me mostly, self-absorbed, but we do it for the players, man. And so we'll just keep doing what we do for them. And that'll be it. No more crybaby shit from me.
Yeah, no, just joking.
Hopefully.
You can cry on my shoulder anytime. You know me. I am the empathetic.
Yeah,
the empathetic friend.
The only time you've ever compared yourself to Donald Trump. I realize I'm like Donald Trump. I got no empathy. Just don't care. Well, you're right. I gotta give you that. You're right.
I'm the empathetic one, right? Yes,
You're right.
yes. I'm not Joe Biden, man. Big Joe Biden supporter. I'm not the Joe Biden empathy though. So anytime though, Neil Dog, I'm trying to be better, right? As I tell my football team, who we are today does not dictate who we are going to be tomorrow. So I try to be I'll try to be more empathetic. So anytime you want to cry, Neil Dog, you just come. This big shoulders right here for you, baby.
I wish I could stop myself, really. When you're like, anytime you want to cry, I never want to cry. It's never a goal. You'd be proud of me. I almost made it through my whole speech. I started to lose it like early, and keep in mind, I tried to keep the speech short. You know what I mean? I was just about appreciating the opportunity I got, a couple shout outs, and appreciation for, I couldn't have won with all the great players like you that I had surrounding me. So just showing that acknowledging that I'm aware of all that, but like early on, like I started to lose it and I pulled back for a second, or I was able to regain my composure, but man, I got to like the last 5 words and I was squeaking. See you next year. I lost it right at the end. But dude, honestly, just practicing in my room and thinking about it, like I couldn't even think about it without getting choked up. I was like, I just kept shaking my head, like I don't know how I'm going to do this. But part of me, like when I was sitting out on the field for the undefeated game on Friday and Saturday, and the championship game Saturday, I can't lie, like Friday right before the undefeated game, just waiting for the game to start, dude, I got emotional, dude. Like I kept it to myself. I had glasses on and shit, but I got hella emotional before that. Just being back, I love that moment so much. You know what I mean? We spent our whole career playing on Friday and Saturday, and just like just being back there for the first time, man, I lost it for a little while. It took me a while, just keeping to myself, had my head down, my glasses on, acting like I was sweating when I was wiping my face. But I felt emotional out there. But when I started thinking, like, I always felt confident as hell when we went into those games. We were talking about Randy Lyons. I remember the year we won the championship for the first time in '99. And I was laying on my back, that stupid stretch we used to do, like a quad stretch where we lay on our back and pull one leg back underneath us or whatever. I was just laying there doing that, and Randy Lyons was standing over. He's like, "Dang, Neil Dog, you don't look nervous at all." I was like, "Man, you know what? I'm not." I was that first year when we made our first championship. I was nervous as hell for like 4 innings. But man, from that point forward, like I went in expecting us. And I finally, I was like, man, you need to like kind of like pull in that energy right before you go up and give your speech. Like I tried to give myself the attitude, like, man, you know what I mean? Like you expected your team to be here, act like it. And it lasted for like 95%. I did make it. I made a prediction. This is a big one. You need to hear this.
Yeah, we are now an hour and a half into the show.
All right.
An hour and 10. If you want to make your prediction now, or as opposed to...
No, I made a prediction that came true. Remember when Ashley was on the show and I was saying that I was scared that there were certain people that might want to whip my ass when I got out to the World Series?
Yeah.
And I said number 1 on that list was Faith Penn.
Yeah.
Beat the living shit out of me, dude.
Why?
Beat the crap because I'm me and I've been talking trash to her for like 3 years. I was in Siren's headquarters. I was sitting I was in the corner, sitting at the end of a couch, and she wasn't anywhere near me. All of a sudden, she was right next to me, damn near on top of me. She's like, "You knew this was coming." She counted it out, dude. 1, bam, she hit me 10 times. Like full. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I thought I lost the connection again.
No.
You were so quiet. No, she counted it out, dude. 1. She was feeling around my body, looking for new spots. Every time she hit me, she hit every limb, my chest, my stomach. And after like the third one, dude, she was all aggressive. She's like, shut up and take it like a man. You knew this was coming. Bam! She had the sirens startled. They're like, I didn't know what was going on. It's like, little payback. I didn't learn nothing though. Once she was walking out the door, I was like, bye, Faithy Pooh. She's like, oh my God, this man. This man. Yeah, I don't learn. That's why I'm single. All right. Officially, Set Dog, I ain't got nothing else.
Okay.
I'm not even going to stop the recording first. I'm just going to stop the live stream. Enough of us. But they're complaining yesterday that it didn't happen. Not my fault, but they're complaining. Seth's stupid kids, stupid students.
Yes,
stupid life.
yes, exactly. Responsibilities, man. They're a bitch.
So I will be reaching out. First ones I want up are the Edge, Leah, Eric, Miguel. I want in there, Corey White. You know, you guys can make this show. It's your team. It's your year. Just if you've ever listened to our shows that have a lot of people, they're kind of almost useless. It gets to be too hard to pull out content if the show's too big. But man, this is your year. Congratulations. You guys get first dibs, and we're going to just be hitting everybody else up after that. So thank you for the love and support you guys show us. We're going to keep coming at you, and we will see you next time. Peace out. All right. Let's see if I can stop the